Hi guys, so today we're going to start talking about proof of work, consensus systems, proof of work and proof of stake. Some of you might have seen the PAL word around and POS. And I'd like to hand over to Dimitar just to give us talk to me about what that actually means and why Gaju is different.
Well, the first blockchain out there was Bitcoin, and it introduced proof of work. There are different actors in the blockchain sphere, and some can be honest and some can be dishonest. And proof of work is a mechanism to keep the honest one in while dishonest one out. It also introduces entropy to the system. So what essentially is there is a puzzle, and everyone tries to solve the same puzzle. The probability of one solving the puzzle depends solely on their computing power. The more computers you have, the more CPUs or graphic cards you have, the higher the probability of you solving the puzzle. Once you solve the puzzle, you are the next one to produce a block, and blocks are the boxes transactions come into. So there is a reward for that, and the reward usually is enough to cover expenses and for mining, and then you can get gain some coins for your hard work. There are alternatives because this is consumes a lot of electricity and requires a lot of hardware. There are alternatives that require less electricity, and that's how proof of stake was born. And proof of stake takes a different approach. The probability of you being elected as the next block producer depends only on the amount of coins that you lock in a magical account. That this amount is your lottery tickets essentially at this point. The more lottery tickets you have, the higher the probability you are elected as the next block producer, and then you get the reward. Ulf can elaborate what approach we take with that and how it's better.
Yeah, so these two different systems have different weak points. As Dimitar mentioned, wasting a lot of resources tends to be a danger with proof of work. Proof of work also has a bootstrapping problem in that for a young chain that hasn't really attracted that many miners, the way that you can attack a proof of work chain is to have much more mining power than the others on the chain. Essentially, you can then more or less go back in time and rewrite history to make it look like you won it. And this is the source of, for example, double spend attacks and other things. Now, there are ways to combat this, that have essentially been developed by chains who were not Bitcoin and actually didn't have enough mining power and had to come up with other ways to stay safe. And these are different ways of achieving finality. And this is something where we have what we feel is a pretty unique and powerful method that essentially you can declare at some point that there is no going back in time from this block, for example. It cannot be evicted from the chain. You cannot rewrite the history. And you'd like that point to happen as soon as possible. This also will close the attack window of rewriting history, which both proof of stake and proof of work can have. A weakness of proof of stake is that the stake really has to be worth a lot more than what you can gain from an attack. And this is sometimes called the nothing at stake problem. If you're staking funny coins like Monopoly money, then where is the protection? Another problem is that if anonymous proof of stake, you don't really know who is behind it all. You just have a bunch of anonymous accounts that presumably represent different people, but you don't know this. And every value hierarchy tends to get corrupted over time. So after a while, you may have a few whales that control everything that happens on the blockchain. In our world, for an associate chain, say, to handle logistics for a certain area, say mining, minerals, halal chickens, whatever, you may have stakeholders that have sort of a relationship where they don't fully trust each other, but they all have stake in having the system work. Then you can actually map the proof of stake to actual stake in the real world. And then it's different. You can even have legal contracts behind this, controlling your specific chain. So this is how we want to deal with this. But for the mint, we believe that proof of work is the only way, the safest way to protect against corruption. And we have chosen the proof of work algorithm that is the most energy or the least energy hungry. It's called the cuckoo cycle, and it's more memory hard than CPU hard. So I would say the most climate friendly mining algorithm out there.
That's important, but you know, a lot of the things you touched on there are things that we'll explore in later videos. Like, for example, how the choice of the motivation for choosing the cuckoo cycle, how that relates to opening up the opportunity set for everybody. These are all important points. But I really want to get to the nugget of why we couldn't just say, let's go with proof of stake. And some of this people have seen, you know, you've seen that there are 5 accounts that basically control Ethereum. Now it's moved to proof of stake. There are, I think with Bitcoin, it turned out that 47% of all transactions in the last year had gone to, yet again, five wallets. And these are not small issues, because Craig, you do a great example of what the problem is with proof of stake with unknown actors. I think you used an analogy in the past of a ball, a masquerade ball or something. What was it?
Oh, I don't remember the masquerade, but I've used a few analogies that I've kind of made up on the spot. But
it's always good to just throw someone a hospital pass, though, right?
Right. No, but there's a penalty issue that comes in with proof of stake where provide a scenario. Okay, so you've got let's say 10 stakers, and they all have equal share at the outset. Now, one of them is going to become a leader where they can update the chain, and maybe you're monitoring the chain from outside. I am staker number 2, and I don't like staker number 1. And I'm watching from outside. I'm watching his network traffic. And so I know where his node is because I can watch these nodes I can monitor the network and kind of track it down. Once I figure out where his node is, next time he becomes the leader, I'm going to bombard that node with a DDoS attack and knock him off the network. Now, the funny thing about networks is when someone gets kicked off the network, you can't know from outside, you can't know why the guy got kicked off. So did he get kicked off because he shut the power off? He tripped and shut the power off, or there's an earthquake in his area and he got shut down, or is what he's doing he became the leader and then he disappeared from the network, is he paralyzing the chain on purpose? Because at this moment, he became the leader, we're all waiting for him, and he's not actually producing any transactions on the chain. So he's not servicing the mempool, which means our chain is paralyzed right now. We're shut down. So somebody trying to buy a cheeseburger right now is just waiting, wondering when that transaction is going to go through. That is considered an attack on the chain, and it's called a lazy leader attack. So the part of the staking system in many staking systems is to penalize that guy by taking some of his stake out. So that should hurt him in theory. The problem comes that I made this attack up. I'm attacking that guy. And what I've done now is I've made the penalty system for that proof of stake, the penalty within that proof of stake system is now reducing this guy's stake, which is giving all of us more power. Now, if I do this a few times, I start aggregating power to myself. In addition, if this is anonymous proof of stake, I'm staker 2, but I could also be staker 3 and 4. So very cheaply, I could start knocking the stake down, pulling it to my side, and pretty quickly, once I gain a third of the chain in proof of stake, I basically run it. So this is a big problem.